Hi students. Now yesterday and the day before we had the parts about the writing, which we are going to complete now. So back to our writing essay. We discussed first of all the basic idea, and then yesterday we had the outline, and now we are going to just revise. Of course, we agreed that we are going to write a comparative form of an essay. Now our essay is about Noor and Sarah, who get along very well, although they come from different cultures, as we agreed. And I showed you how I made my outline using the post-its and just writing small notes with some of the characteristics were non-cultural, and of course we have others which are cultural. And we said that we can use two ways in writing our essays. We are going to see what I have in my essay, and of course, as usual, I have to go back to my checklist for evaluation to just make sure that I have my ideas, they are complete. At the end, of course, of my essay, I'm going to have the title, the indentation part, just to make sure or check my spelling, the structure, which is the grammar or the form part, the handwriting, punctuation, capital letters, and so on. So at the end, I can just make sure that everything is good. Now here, this is my complete essay, as you can see. Now we have here the essay. There is, of course, the thesis statement that I wanted. Now here, let's just outline the things that we have. Now, communication is an essential part of people's lives. Everyone communicates either by spoken language or non-verbal actions and symbols. We can actually communicate without even speaking the same language using non-verbal actions and gestures. This is a topic that reminds me of two colleagues I know very well. They are both non-Arabs. Noor is European and Sarah is from Asia. Although they don't speak the same language, they get along very well. It is interesting to know things about them. Noor is social and outgoing, unlike Sarah, who is mostly shy and rather a silent person. Noor is talkative and very easy to talk to. Sarah, on the other hand, is cautious but comfortable to talk to as well. So in this part, you can see that I took it part by part. I compared between them immediately. Let's see what I did in the other part. Their cultures are different too, but in an interesting way, different from each other, but in an interesting way. Noor's culture is conservative and they avoid eye contact, which is considered disrespectful, as well as crossing legs. It is interesting to know that shaking their heads is a way to say yes. On the other hand, Sarah's culture is more open and accepts intimacy gestures. Eye contact is a matter of fact, a respect gesture. Unlike Noor's culture, shaking heads is our typical no. So you can see that here I used the other way, which is to write the whole idea about Noor's culture first, and then I compared the whole idea about Sarah's culture. So I didn't take it one by one, I took it as a complete form. At the end of my essay, I have my conclusion. The conclusion is, although they do have their differences, that doesn't stop them from communicating very well. So you can see, yes, we have a lot of details and a lot of things to think about, but at the end, your essay can be very simple, it can be straight to the point, and you will even do better than mine. Yes, now, since we have finished the part about the writing, what did I say? We have finished. Okay, so here, this is going to be the revision for the other part that we took yesterday, which is forming sentences. Now, we took three things in the lesson yesterday. First of all, the present perfect tense. As I said, we have finished the lesson, or we have been discussing writing for 3 days, 3 lessons. The second point was about using the adjective plus the preposition, and the gerund. And then the third thing that we took in our lesson was words connected with hobbies and interests. And there was a way that you can connect between the three parts all together, and you can apply them in the same part. Now, one of the exercises that I asked you to do in the book, which is page number 92, ask and answer questions about the picture which you have in your book. It's been raining for 10 minutes. What have the people been doing during this time? And in the book, you are asked to use the present perfect progressive and the present perfect simple. So based on the picture that you have in your book, I can say, for example, a lady has been sitting in a taxi for a long time. She looks fed up. So actually in the book, there is a lady who's sitting in the taxi. And you can see that here I used has been sitting, which is the present perfect progressive. And then in the second one, or the second point, we have here two friends have been catching up over a cup of coffee. They have drunk 4 cups. So each time they're done with one, they order the other. And here we have been catching up, which means that also we have here the present perfect progressive used. The third example, and we have here, yes, okay, there is also they have drunk, which is the present perfect simple. So here in this example, I have both. And then in the third example, a man has been directing traffic. A businessman has been talking on his phone. Now you can see that both of them has been directing and has been talking. Both of them are the present perfect progressive. We have here been plus verb ing. In the last one, a man with a bag has waited for a taxi for a long time. He is soaking wet. Now here we have has waited, which means that we have here the present perfect simple. So here, these are just examples. There are a lot of things that you can apply within the picture that you have in the book, and you can bring other examples and use them both with the present perfect simple and the present perfect progressive, using, of course, if you would like, some time expressions like for and since. Now we have accomplished a lot, alhamdulillah. Actually, we have here, this is the project, which is the last lesson in Unit 6. We have been doing projects since the beginning of the semester. So you can see that we have accomplished, which is the present perfect simple. So this is reality. We are linking and we are applying our lessons within what we are really doing. We have been doing projects in Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and Unit 4, Unit 5, and now in Unit 6. So we have been, yes, we have been doing projects from the beginning of the semester. This is our last lesson here in Unit 6, which is the project. Now, in the project part, also we are going to discuss communication as we did before. And now you know that there are lots of ways to communicate with other people. Our objectives are to list and analyze different types of communication, compare between different types, research about verbal and nonverbal communication as well as other types, prepare and present your project figure. Number 5, apply structure forms, vocabulary, and phrases that have been learned throughout the unit. Now, as we said, we have here communication, but put in mind, as we did in the essay, which is comparing, we can compare also between forms of communication, or if you want to talk specifically about one. So, for example, before we had the old typical telephone, and of course, most of our calls now are done by cell phones. Now, in the book, in the project asks you to think about and research. You're going to have to do a lot of research, like the research that we did in the writing when we researched about different verbal and nonverbal communication cultures. So we have here to think about and research methods that people have used to communicate with others throughout history. So you are free to choose whatever you would like, which is interesting. And actually, we do have something interesting now in the book. For example, Native Americans used to communicate through smoke signals. They used a blanket to cover and uncover the fire in order to make a specific number of smoke puffs rise. Someone at a distance could watch and interpret the smoke signals and understand the message that was being sent. Now, in number 2, you are asked to work as pairs or groups. Find out about different methods of communication that have been used through time and make notes in the chart. And they gave you examples like the examples that I have here. Now, there were pigeons, and still are there pigeons that are called, we have here, they have a name, which is a carrier pigeon. A carrier pigeon, which was the old-fashioned known or the typical pigeon that used to carry messages. Its name was the carrier pigeon. And we have also some way of communication was using torches, and we have here fire signals. And also the mailman was a way to communicate with people. They used to send messages, letters, and so on. So we have here, of course, this is something that changed throughout the years. Now, first, there could be in just one town or one city, there was a messenger who could just take messages and letters from one place to another, and then it got more and more different. So we have here, these are just examples. You can choose other examples if you would like. You can research, you can think about things. So as old and as far as you go back, you would discover things that are not typical. They are not things that we are used to in our days. And number 3, we have here, of course, you're going to use the table. Now the table here, you can see communication method. There are many methods that you can choose. Of course, there is the description, the time period, when was this? Also, we have here the place, where was it mostly common or known? The person or the group involved. Advantages and disadvantages of the type that you have chosen. And we have here, use your notes and the information that you have collected to prepare a PowerPoint presentation for your class. So here, this is your project for Unit 6, which is the gender divide. Now, the gender divide, basically, it was about people in general. We saw the differences between people, and the aspect or the topic of differences moved on with us from one thing to another. Also, we discussed different cultures. We discussed the differences also between verbal and non-verbal communication, coming to the differences that we have here between the different types of communication. And now you can just focus on one type, make it something which is very interesting, something which is something that you can discover, and other people will be surprised to know. So it depends on what you choose with your group. You can think of different things, and maybe even here now in our days, nowadays, there are methods and there are ways to communicate that are not well known between people. So as much as you research, as much as you can discover new things, and maybe you already know things that are special and unique, and you can share with others. So this is going to be our lesson, which is the project lesson for Unit 6. Now, of course, as every project, the project in each unit relates to the unit's main topic. It is an activity in which you cooperate to perform a directed task. Now you know what is your task. You have to depend on your teamwork skills, choosing together what is the topic, and then agreeing on dividing the parts, and each one enjoys the part that he or she has, so you can accomplish more, and at the end you can have the perfect presentation for the others. So this is going to be your project for the day. At the end, we did some brainstorming about, and you are going to do the research and discussing on how to present a different form of communication. After you have researched, connect the ideas and the main points, and come up with something different and unique for the others to know. And of course, like every unit, form a symbiotic team by distributing roles. And also you can add all these structures, the vocabulary, the real talk, and all the things that you have learned throughout Unit 6 or throughout the units in general. So this is something very common. It is something that you will enjoy to use, talk about actually, and you can use all what we have studied and applied just in one place. So very looking forward to seeing what are the projects that the students have. This is something interesting, and I hope that you come up with something that is original and something that is different from what others have thought about. So good luck.